Hey everybody, it's Hutch here, and we are on Module 6-3, Subtracting Linear Expressions. You're going to find this is really the exact same thing as yesterday because of KFC, but I mean, there's a little bit of some differences, but not too bad. Okay, so no stress here. All right, so let's talk about that phrase additive inverses again. Remember, that just means that we have two expressions that have the sum of zero. Okay, and so we're just talking about do you understand how to find the sort of opposite expression to create zero? They talk about using the concept of just multiplying by -1. Obviously, that's just going to undo or find the opposite. So if I take 4x here and multiply by -1, it would get me a -4x. So I'm just writing the opposite of it. And instead of a +2, we would multiply by -1 and we would have a -2. And so obviously, if I added these together, a +4x and a -4x, a +2 and -2, we would end up with 0 plus 0 or just 0. Okay, so it's just this concept of, can you find the additive inverse of an expression? So you don't really have to think about it as multiplying by -1 if you just want to write the opposites. I would KFC things though as you go here. So obviously the additive inverse of 5x plus a -7 would be a -5x, okay, and then a +7 instead. Okay, so plus a +7. And then if you want to go ahead and try that one out, what would be the additive inverse? That if I added it together, we would create the sum of 0. So a +7x, so I would just write 7x, and we would have plus a -3, but I'm just going to write -3 instead. Okay. All right. So there we go. That's additive inverse. Let's go ahead and move on to actually just subtracting linear expressions. Okay, so it says here, when subtracting integers, you remember add the opposite or the additive inverse. So what we're talking about is making sure that when you do this, that you actually multiply or distribute that negative. And so that's why they sort of set you up with that, because when we're subtracting expressions here, remember, we need to, in order to combine like terms, we have to have the addition in between everything. And right now we have the subtraction between things. And so we need to fix that issue by doing the additive inverse. Okay, so that's the whole purpose for that whole conversation there. So to get this negative or this subtraction gone, what we're going to do is we're just going to distribute it. Okay. Because really we're saying that we have a negative of this entire number. So you can't just put it on the 3y, and you can't just put it on the 4. You have to put it on both of those so that we're representing it correctly. Okay, so we're going to add the opposite, but we have to go ahead and put those over to that side. Okay, and so we just created the additive inverse. Instead of a +3y and a +4, we have a -3y and a -4. So that's what's going on there, so you understand. So that's step one, is do the KFC, but because of the parentheses, you have to expand it to both of those when you do that. Okay. All right. So now we do the same thing as before. I'll KFC that, and we're combining like terms. So here's my 8y club, my -3y club. Here's my -5 constant and my -4 constant, and we combine together. And now it's just like what we were doing yesterday. So we have a 5y because of the 8y and the -3y, plus we have two negatives, -5 and -4, so we have a -9. Remember, we can't end like this because simplifying is combining like terms and getting rid of parentheses, okay? And so we end up with 5y minus 9 as a final answer, okay? All right, let's go ahead and do example 2 here. Okay, you can see we don't have addition throughout, so we need to do some KFCing, okay? I'd recommend as you go here, okay, start here, and we're adding the opposite, so we need to change both of these to opposite. So instead of a negative here, instead of positive, we have negative, and then you could just change that to positive, or if you would prefer, okay, you could go inside the parentheses first and take care of all KFC. And that might be easier for you because now we can go through and add the opposite and change it to opposite, okay? So it's really personal preference, but you just have to make sure that you distribute that -1 or that negative across all that section. All right, and now we go back to what we were doing before, combining like terms. So get your x club, get your constant club, and combine them. So we have 3x because of the positive 6 and negative 3, plus we have a positive 5 and a positive 2 is a positive 7, and you're done. Okay. All right, let's go ahead to your check. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and KFC inside of my parentheses first. Then we'll go ahead and do the additive inverse. So I'm going to change that to addition, and I'm going to distribute the negative out. So negative times negative turns that to a positive. Okay. All right, so now we can go ahead and combine like terms like always. It's just like coming home to something familiar. There's my constant club, and let's go ahead and join them together. So we have a -3 and a -8, puts us at 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have -11x. Just don't forget your x, common mistake. And then we have a positive 9 and a 7, puts us at 16, and we're all set. Okay. All right, example 3, of course, we have fractions now. So we're going to have to find common denominators because we're adding. Step 1, let's go ahead and KFC some things here. Okay, and now we need to distribute this negative out to get rid of it. Okay, so we're going to add the opposite, and there we go. Okay, now let's highlight and combine like terms. So we have an x club, and we have our constant club. Oops, too much. There we go. That's all I need. All right, let's go ahead and start combining here. So we have a 2/3 x and a 1/6. Obviously, we need common denominators. Don't forget that. So times 2 over 2 puts us at 4/6x. And so 4/6x minus a 1/6x. Okay, different sign subtract puts us at 3/6x, which we can simplify. And then let's go ahead and add up our constant. So we have a 1/2 plus a 3/8. So annoying. Let's go ahead and change that. We're going to need 8, so times what? 4 over 4, and that puts us at 4/8. So 4/8 plus 3/8, that gives us 7/8. Okay, so we could simplify the 3/6x. It doesn't tell us that we have to, but I'll be a good boy and just change it to 1/2 x plus 7/8. Okay, and there we go with that one. All right, pause and try that one out. Just be really careful as you go, or you can continue watching and follow along if you are more comfortable with that. So step 1, let's go ahead and KFC inside of our parentheses first. And now I'm going to go ahead and find the additive inverse. So we're going to add the opposites, boom, boom. And there we go. We just did a nice KFC there. Because really this whole thing is the keep, this is the flip, and this whole thing is the change, if you want to look at it that way also. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and combine like terms. -1/6x, -1/2 x, and then we have a constant of 3/4 and a constant of 1/8. Okay, so we need common denominators to add the x club. So we got to get this time to be 6 on the bottom. So times what? 3 over 3. And so we have a -3/6. Don't lose track of that negative. And it's also x. And then let's go ahead and get that added up. So -1/6 and -3/6 is a -4/6x. Plus, we need to add the 3/4 and the 1/8, but we need them to have common denominators. So times 2 over 2 puts us at 6/8. So 6/8 plus 1/8 is 7/8. Okay, I could leave it like that, or simplify my 4/6, divide by 2 over 2, puts us at a -2/3 x plus 7/8. And voila, there we go. All right, let's jump down to our apply and check, and then over to our homework. So our apply here, we have Bonnie owns a t-shirt shop where she sells plain t-shirts and printed t-shirts. The table shows the cost per shirt, number of type of shirts sold over a certain amount of weeks, which they're representing as W. After 25 weeks, so we'll plug in 25 at the end, how much more shirts did she earn in sales of printed than plain? So how much more, okay, means subtract, and we're subtracting printed and versus plain, okay? So let's go ahead and set this up based on what they said. So we're wondering how much more. So we have printed, so 8W plus 3 is my printed, okay, minus the plain was 5W minus 4, okay? And I'm doing it in that order because it said how much more did she earn in printed than plain? So I'm assuming the more is printed. And so we're putting that one first based on the words that they used, okay? So let's go ahead and get this all simplified, and then we can plug in the weeks and things like that into it, okay? So we're going to start off, same as always, by KFCing inside the parentheses first. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the opposite and do my KFC. So add the opposite and opposite. Okay. All right, now we'll combine like terms, just like always. So I have an 8W and a negative 5W. We have a positive 3 and a positive 4. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. Different sign subtract. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So we have a 3W plus 4 plus 3 is 7. Okay, so there's our simplified expression. Okay, this is how much more they sold in printed versus plain. Okay, so let's figure out what we need to plug in here. So after 25 weeks, okay, how much more did she earn in sales? Okay, so this is just the number sold. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in 25 to this. So when I'm substituting, I put things in parentheses like that. We have 3 times 25, which is 75, but typing it anyway. Plus 7 puts us at 82, and you want to label to pay attention to what's going on. How much more, this is the number sold, so 82 sold, okay? And that's how many more, 82 more sold, printed than plain. And it says that the cost was $15, okay? So we can actually go ahead now and multiply by the $15 to see how much more money, because the number sold is just the number of shirts sold. We want to know how much money more was sold, okay? So times 15, that 82 times 15, that puts us at $1,230. Okay, so let's go back to the question. How much more did she earn? Okay, so she earned that much more. There we go. Circling my answer, done. All right, so let's go to the check. It's the same idea. This table shows a bakery sales of sugar cookies and chocolate chip cookies sold in a certain amount of hours, which is represented by H. Okay, this section is just the number of cookies sold. There's our cost, just like the t-shirt question. After 15 hours then, how much more means what, did the bakery earn in sales of chocolate chips than in sales of sugar? So they're giving you the order, chocolate chips than sugar. So make sure when you start setting this up, we have a 10H plus 6 minus 6H minus 5. Okay, so go ahead and you can hit pause and try that one out on your own. It's the same as up above. Or if you want to follow along, you're welcome to do that as well. All right, so I'm going to start off like always and KFC in my parentheses, and then we need to get rid of this big subtraction in the middle by adding the opposite and spreading that out like that. Okay, all right. So combining like terms now, here we go. We have a 10H and a negative 6H. We have a positive 6 constant and a positive 5 constant. Let's join them together. So we have 4H plus 6 plus 5 is 11. And now we can go ahead and figure out how many cookies were sold if they did 15 hours. So we'll plug in the 15 hours. So 4 times 15 plus 11. So they sold 71 cookies. Okay. And that's, remember, because we did the subtraction, 71 more chocolate chip, okay, than the sugar. Okay, so always labeling and thinking about what your numbers actually mean is super important. All right, now we need to know, though, the question is how much more, how much meaning money. And so if they sold 71 more chocolate chips and each cookie was $1.15, okay, we need to go ahead and do that multiplication. So 71 times $1.15, let's figure out how much money that is. $81.65, okay? So they sold $81.65 more chocolate chip than sugar. Okay, and there you go. All right, let's head to your homework and continue your practice. So 6-3 practice homework. 1, 2, and 3, again, are just saying, hey, do you know how to distribute that negative? Can you add the opposite? So yes, we can. We can take a negative and we can distribute it out and end up with a negative 3x. And then if I KFC this, I would have plus a positive 6. And there we go. Okay. Number 2 and 3, that can be for you to try out. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and actually do the subtraction now. So a review, step 1, KFC in the parentheses first. Step 2, go ahead and do your big KFC, adding the opposite. Okay. All right, and now we can go ahead and combine like terms as normal. 8x club, negative 6x club, positive 9, positive 2. Okay, let's go ahead and join them together. So we have 2x, 8x, and a negative 6x, different sign subtract. You can see how we're getting a little quicker with our integer rules, so it's really important that you have those mastered. Plus 11, and you're done. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 7. Okay, step 1, KFC in your parentheses first. Step 2, you do your big KFC, add the opposite. Okay, so we're distributing that negative out. All right, let's go ahead and combine like terms. Negative 7x, negative, what is that? How many x's is that? 1x, so it's an invisible coefficient. And then we have our negative 14. Oops, I forgot my KFC there. Okay, so we have a negative 14 and a positive 5. Let's combine like terms. Negative 7x and a negative 1x. And if you want to put it in there to help, you can. We have a negative 8x plus negative 14 minus 5. Different sign subtract. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. We have a negative 9. Remember, we are not simplified if we leave it like that, so we have to write minus 9 as a final answer. All right, let's jump down to number 10. Of course, we have fractions where we need common denominators. KFC first inside the parentheses. Now do your big KFC, adding the opposite. Okay, because we're distributing it across the quantity. Okay, combining like terms, we have a 1/10 x and a negative 4/5 x. We have a negative 2/3 and a 1/6. Luckily, they're pretty easy to common denominator here. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. So we have a 1/10 x plus a 4/5 x. Obviously, the fifths doesn't say tenths, but we can multiply by 2 over 2. Let me make my pen size a little bit smaller here. And we have negative, don't forget your negative there, negative 8/10 x plus a 1/10 x, different sign subtract, and we end up with a negative 7/10 x plus negative 2/3 plus 1/6. I need those to say sixth on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and multiply by 2 over 2, which puts us at negative 4/6. A negative 4/6 and a positive 1/6, different signs subtract, and we're at a negative 3/6. Okay. Remember, when you have two symbols next to each other like this, we are not fully simplified. So we need to have negative 7/10 x minus, instead of 3/6, I'm just going to go minus 1/2. Okay, and there we go. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and we'll do one more fraction one together, and then you can go ahead and do those on your own. So number 11, step 1, remember, KFC in the quantities first. Okay, now take care of your big KFC, adding the opposite and opposite. There we go. Okay, so we distributed all that. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. We have a negative 5/6x and a positive 1/3 x, always including that symbol, negative 7/12 and positive 1/4. Okay, we need to go ahead and get some common denominators here to add our x club. So a quick times 2/2 puts us at 2/6 x. I'm going to go ahead and do the constant club as well, just to be ready for it. I need to make 12ths so that I can add those. So times 3/3 puts us at 3/12. So now I can go ahead and do my combining of like terms. So negative 5/6x plus 2x, different signs subtract. 5, 4, 3, so we have negative 3/6 x. Let's do my constant now, negative 7/12 and a positive 3/12, different signs subtract. 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep the sign of the bigger, which is negative, and there we go. But remember, we can't leave it like this. Okay, we have to change it back to just subtraction. So I'll go ahead and simplify. We have negative 1/2 x by dividing by 2/2 plus, sorry, not plus, that was the whole point of this, minus, and we can simplify the 4/12 also. We could divide by 4/4, and we get minus 1/3. Okay, and there we go. There's your most simplified expression. So go ahead and take care of 5, 6, 8, 9, 12. And then let's go ahead and look at number 13. For 13, we have the table shows the scores of 2 teams in a trivia challenge at the end of the first half. How many more points? How many more means subtract Huskies than Bobcats. So I'm going to be doing Huskies minus Bobcats. That's the order that they're saying because we know Huskies scored more points. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5x minus 3, that quantity, minus 2x minus 7. Okay, and there's the problem that we're actually solving. Okay, so let's go ahead and follow our same process. KFC inside of the quantities first, then do your big KFC. Okay, all right, now we can go ahead and combine like terms. We have a 5x and a negative 2x. We have a negative 3 and a positive 7. It's not fractions, so this is sort of nice. We have a 3x because of 5x and negative 2x, plus different sign subtract, 7 minus 3, 6, 5, 4, and there we go. Okay, so how many more points did the Huskies score than the Bobcats? Huskies scored, and this is the answer, 3x plus 4 more points. They're not telling you what x is, so you're not able to actually solve and give a normal answer. Okay, and that's okay. All right, and then your apply is for you to do for your homework. This is the same type of thing as in the notes, so reflect back on the notes if you need help with that. All right, good job. Take your time, work hard.